Hey guys, Goose here. We're going to be looking at this guitar here today. I've actually talked about it a few times on my other videos, but I just want to go a little bit more in depth into the kind of the history of why I built this thing. So I first started off with the obvious Goosecaster for slide guitar, and an interesting sort of point I want to make here is you know, which guitar should you have for a slide guitar, you know, especially if you're using different tunings. You might just be playing in standard. But a lot of people sort of veer towards the SG, the Gibson SG, which is what obviously Dwayne Allman ended up playing after his Les Paul, and then obviously Derek Trucks, who's gone on to great things with an SG, and it's kind of been his main guitar. So the SGs are really great because you've got lots of access up here on the high frets with your hand, your sliding hand, and also you've got a pretty flat and a wide fingerboard. So they really do make for excellent slide guitars, and maybe just the way you hold an SG, because you're kind of more or less you're bringing it round to your body, so the neck is here, so you can really focus on that intonation with your right hand. Also, it's a shorter scale, so and as Derek Trucks has a set of 11s tuned to an E chord, you know the scale is a bit smaller. So in some respects, I think it's actually easier to intonate on a Gibson guitar scale length. On a Fender scale length, you've got to be a bit more on the note, especially when you're kind of coming up. You know, when you're coming up high, you've really got to focus on that note, especially if you're not using vibrato. So you know, then I kind of first probably started off on a Strat, but then I kind of went to an SG for a couple of years, and then I built my first Goosecaster many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, which is I've featured a lot on this channel. And that Goosecaster was really how I kind of learned a bit of the Cuda style, and it was really great. But I kind of it never really sat well with me. I don't know why. I liked it, but I just thought it's kind of, there was something missing for me with that Stratocaster, using a Strat for a slide guitar. So then I had the idea to use a 52 or 54 telly, whatever you want to call it. They call it the Blackguard, you know, the butterscotch maple neck skunk stripe, you know, the famous telly. And really, this is kind of how the what I call the Goosecaster. This is how the Goosecaster evolved into what it is today. And I just started really just, I had a Telecaster pickup originally here, you know, your normal bridge telly. But I fixed a Tiesco from Mojo Pickups, it's a UK guitar maker, and he gave me a replica Mojo, one of his first ones, like a prototype of a gold foil, because I had an original one in the Goosecaster, an original gold foil from the 50s, and then I got the Mojo Pickup one, which was good. It was a solid pickup. For my ears, my taste, it didn't really have the magic of the original one. So then I kind of, instead of seeking out a Tiesco gold foil, I went for a Guiatone gold foil, which is what is now in here. And this is an original Guiatone, and this was, you know, there's no, between the Tiesco gold foil and the Guiatone gold foil, I'd say the Tiesco is a little bit more hollow sounding. It's kind of in a way more bluesy, so more of that kind of classic blues sound, hollow blues sound. Whereas this Guiatone is a bit fuller, a bit richer, a bit bigger. If I just play it here, you can kind of hear. So it's got kind of a richer, it doesn't have that hollow sort of thing that the Tiesco had. So that was a really kind of great thing, and I make no lie, you know, I don't hide the fact that this was really an idea that came from Blake Mills. I was really into his album, which was called something Mirrors, and then he made another one, but anyway, and he had one of these, and I thought, this is a great idea, so I put this one in here. And then with the bridge pickup, I still had the, and this guitar went around the whole Sahara Desert, you know, not the whole of it, but a lot of the Sahara Desert. So in a way, it's kind of my Sahara Desert guitar, because I played out there with the great musicians in Morocco, and so forth, so on and so forth. And it's even got, you know, you can see bits of the Sahara Desert still embedded into the fretboard where it got wet on a beach, and you know, it's been, you know, literally I was carrying it around without even a case in Morocco, and in the southern part of Morocco and Western Sahara, and yeah, so it's got a few stories to tell. But anyway, nonetheless, when I came back to England, this is when I got another Mojo. I bought a Mojo pickup, bought one off him, which is what was in here. And again, it was a great pickup, but it was a little bit dark sounding. So then I had the idea to buy a few of these, which were the original. These are the original Valco pickups, which I just took off and then basically put it onto this guitar here. These sound a little bit brighter, a little bit more edgy, a bit brighter. So I highly recommend, if you can seek out the originals. I mean, it's a shame to take apart these beautiful lap steels, these Valco lap steels. But in my defence, I found this one had already been taken apart and was sold on eBay like this, so that's why I bought it. But I'd be a bit reluctant to mess with the original, you know, lap steels, because it's a shame to destroy the instrument. But anyway, that's what I got. And so now this has got the original pickups, which for me really just gives a brilliant sound. Just with clarity, it's just clearer. The Mojos and the Lolas, they're not bad. I mean, if you know, and I use them for a while, and if you haven't got any other choice, get a reproduction. You know, it's better than nothing. You know, but to be honest, the originals, you know, they can come with inherent problems, such as, you know, you might have to get them rewound or fixed or whatever. But they're worth the hassle. It just gives you a bit of extra magic for me, for my taste, my ears, you know. But make of that what you will. I'm not telling you to not buy, you know, these reproductions, but just to my ears, the originals are just a little bit better, you know. So another thing which is really cool about this guitar is in the middle position. You've obviously got the whole Valco pickup working as it should be. So the pickup itself is not out of phase. If we put it into the middle here, then you've got this really kind of hollow, sort of Peter Green out of phase sound. So that's kind of really where I kind of tend to use that a lot. Probably this is the position that here I use the most. So let's just go through the kind of the specs of this guitar. Now, what this should normally have on the Goosecaster is the volume here. I don't know if you can see this. It's right there. So I normally ride that with my little finger. Unfortunately, I get a bit crazy at gigs and do slap this guitar a bit. So I snapped the original pot. So this pot here should really be there, and there should just be nothing. That should be just empty, a bolt covering the hole. But you can see that I've reversed the control cavity so that my selector's down here instead of up here, and I've got my volume and my tone. Now the reason for doing this is so that you can get more like I guess maybe even a pedal steel. You know, you can use that volume to. And the problem I found is having the volume here, just my hands are kind of not that long fingers. They're big, but they're not long. I couldn't, you know, you can't really get your finger there. So I kind of tend to like to have it there, and then I can really get, and especially on the low notes, I can, you know, you need to also have a good pot in here that gives you a good taper. You know, so that would be a linear pot, which you want that, if I remember rightly. You might want to correct me on that. But yeah, so that is part of the feature of this guitar, is that the actual volume pot is I placed it here closer to this Valco pickup, And you can see that the scratch plate's been modified so that it covers the hole that that pot sits on. Okay, so when it's all functioning and working. My main Goosecaster is actually having a spray by Daniel's Guitars, great guitar builder in the UK. And Daniel's Guitar, Darren, is respraying that Goosecaster, which was kind of a sunburst. It looked very much like Raikuda's guitar. And he's going to spray it so it's the same colour as this, my Strat. Just because I thought, you know, it was getting a little bit too much like Raikuda's guitar. So really, that's another feature. Is maybe, you know, that's a little bit of a hassle. But if your hand is long enough and you can reach down there for the volume and you want to do those swells, and then you're fine. You're good to go on that one. Now the bridge is really important. This bridge here, I managed to get this off a guy who makes, I can't remember his name now, but he makes Goosecaster replicas, and he sold me that, and he wouldn't sell me any more. I tried to buy another one, and he wouldn't sell me one, probably because he thought I was going to build them for customers. I don't know, who knows why. But anyway, he refused to sell me any more of these. So I don't know how you would get one of these, but you know, Mastery Bridges make one. There's a few companies that do. You probably find that bridge on eBay, something similar, but it's just a flat piece of metal, and you've got your saddles coming out of that. And notice that saddles, these are Callahan saddles, which are compensated. I think that's pretty important. So this is another thing. You really want to get the intonation right here. This is not like a normal, you know, it's not like a 52 telly where you're just, you know, the intonations, you know, give and take. You really want to have precise intonation as much as you possibly can. So I would say use the compensated saddles. That would be my advice. These are Callahan. Callahan aren't my favourites. I don't think Callahan sound very good, to be honest. I think there's better. I think maybe even the Fender ones sound better. But anyway, you might tell me I'm wrong there, but that's my opinion. But these are actually Callahan, and that's what I'm using at the moment. And I have used actually since the creation of this guitar. So we've done the pickups, we've done this, we've done the thing. And now the frets, you can have any frets you want actually. The frets aren't that important. I had to get this guitar refretted anyway, because after the Sahara Desert, the neck had warped in many various weird shapes, forms. And so I decided to get 6100 or 616-100, whatever, Jim Dunlop, the jumbo fret wire, which is tall and thick. It felt great for this guitar, and if just for fretting really. So if I'm going to do a lot of fretting, so you can see fretting really easily, and you can have kind of a legato style on that, and it's going to be easy to fret. So that's what I like about the big frets. You may prefer thin frets. On my Goosecaster I have thinner, more vintage style frets. Works well for that. It's more of a Raikuda style guitar. But the Goosecaster has 6100 fret wire. I really recommend it. It's got a nice sort of fattish neck on it, which is really nice. Now this is the other thing. It's got a vintage width, so like an SG would have maybe 43 millimeters. You're looking here at more 41.5 millimeters or 42 maximum, 42 millimeters, probably less than 42 millimeters. But what that means is, you can put your thumb over the neck. So, which I like to do sometimes, you know. Sometimes you're kind of, you're not really doing that, but sometimes. So that having the option to put your thumb over the neck is a great one. And it makes it a very playable neck, and just, you know, because sometimes you want to be, you know, sometimes I do play this as a, you know, as a normal guitar. D tuning here, D, A, D, F sharp, A, D, I still sometimes fret and play chords as if it's a regular tuned guitar. So that's one thing why I like the width. Yeah, and also another thing is it's got a, you probably can't see this, but it's got a bit of a radius here, and we're talking maybe possibly 7.5 to 9, I would say. It's not 7.5 inch or 9 inch, I think they call it. It's not 10 inches, it's not flat, there's a bit of curve in there. Again, something I like on this particular guitar. For all intents and purposes, this is a 52 telly, this is what it's about. And then just for tuners, well, tuners don't matter. I mean, I probably would prefer the vintage style cloisons, but I've got these heavy gold shadow pickups made in Germany. But they're good, you know. These are more modern ones, so you can tune, and it is actually nicer to tune with, you know, because you're sometimes I'm detuning and retuning up to different keys, so that can be a good thing. So another thing is when you're using a capo, this guitar really reacts well. I've got the capo here on the 5th fret, and I can still play something like. Jesus, man, like, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. You can call him up, tell him what you want. So you know, you can play with the capo here on the 5th fret, and it's still you're still gonna be able to slide there, still gonna be able to do your songs, and I think that's a really kind of powerful thing about the guitar, is that it's versatile. You know, it's really versatile. It's very playable, and there you go. So this is what I call the Goosecaster. In my opinion, oh, and just lastly about the strings, we're using 12s Diodario flat wounds on this guitar. It kind of really works well for this particular guitar, it takes overdrive, sounds fantastic. I've gigged this, you know, for many years, done hundreds of concerts. I bashed it around, you know. It's got I re-lacquered this neck actually. This has been a neck that's been re-lacquered, I highly recommend this one. It's kind of nice and lightweight, and I just prefer playing my repertoire, my slide style on this guitar as opposed to an SG. It just, for me, it just sits on the lap. It's really nice to play. It feels like an old friend. Whereas for me, slide guitar on the Stratocaster is fantastic. But and I do love the Cudacaster, the Rycuda one. But for me, the Goosecaster is just something a little bit more, for me, more playable, more my sort of, the way I play slide guitar, the repertoire that I do, the style that I play, it just fits my sort of purposes better. So just for an idea for you, if you're comparing, you know, the Stratocaster or the SG or a Gibson Les Paul, you know, what is, you know, tell me in the comments, you know, what guitars are you using for slide guitar, and you know, let me know what you know, pros and cons of each guitar. So that's it for now, guys. This is Goose signing out. God bless. Take care.